man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Just when you think the story can't get any more stranger, no pun intended, things going on, it just keeps stacking up and stacking up. See, I knew a lot of things about Aaron Hernandez and all the things that went down, so not all this stuff is new. But the strange stuff really isn't all the stuff that's going down with him. It's just the direction that they're going with this and the over exaggeration of the events that took place. So I'm curious to know how much they actually fact checked and what real resources they used. Let's get into it, Welcome back, y'all, to the DeAndre Way, where today we are discussing the American Sports Story episode 3 of Aaron Hernandez. If you need the episode 1 and 2 recap, just go ahead and check out my playlist of this series. We got 8 episodes total, 3 down, 4, 5 to go. This episode was titled Pray the Gay Away, directed by Paris Barclay, written by Chelsea Laura, and it just premiered last night as I'm uploading this video on the next day. I wanted to do this last night, but I just didn't get a chance to, but it's all good in the hood because we're making it shake right now. My initial thoughts after seeing this episode, like I said, over exaggeration. I definitely think these things happen, but it's just, and it's TV. I got to remember the end of the day, and I work in TV, so I know this. It's a little just over exaggerated, very theatrical, very over induced, especially with the little concussion montages to where he's getting all blurry and all these things are going on. I've had concussions before, and that's not really what's going down. Now, granted, he had really bad concussions, way worse than, his brain was pretty much torn to bits as they did the autopsy on him and found out after everything was said and done. So, but I'll just put it like this. I've talked to a lot of people with concussions as well. And that just ain't really the thought or the vision that I was seeing when somebody gets a concussion. Like, you don't just walk around and just automatically just start getting hazy and foggy and whatnot. Sure, maybe on the field when it actually happens, that's when it's worst case and you might get some headaches. But the whole fogginess and you're in another time realm and you slipping and sliding at a thought, I don't know about that one, coach. I don't know about that one. And then just how conflicted he is, with being undercover, going with the dudes and whatnot, and trying to cope with that. I think they're trying to blame, I don't want to say, it seems like they're trying to blame his decision making on either being confused or the concussions. That's kind of the direction it seems like it's going, when I think it's a plethora of things. I don't want to, nothing is an excuse what he did, but in this episode they were really harping on the fact of like, okay, now he's really feeling the symptoms of all these things, and that's giving the induced decision making. But then Jesus comes in the picture and praise the gay away, kind of. Not really. I don't think he actually has said those words, but yeah, Jesus comes into the picture. Tim Tebow, who's actually played by Arnold Schwarzenegger's oldest son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, which I did not know. The rich stay rich. But yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. I didn't know that until I just looked it up. So, wow, I didn't even know Arnold Schwarzenegger had a son that was acting. But let's get into the whole episode, y'all. So we start off with the BCS National Championship. The Florida Gators win that game against the Oklahoma Sooners. They beat them, good fashion. And like I said, over exaggerating the ending of it, of how he's just standing there and all the cameras are only focused on him, when reality is they would only really focus on probably Tebow and the coach. They taking pictures of Aaron Hernandez like that. I don't think they give out a single game MVP for that game, but he wouldn't have been that when they won. He was good, but think he would have been that if when they won. So I remember watching the game, very good game. I didn't really know who Aaron Hernandez was at the time. Yeah, I saw him play, but I wasn't. He was good in college, but and I was young, like I was middle school when this was going down, so I wasn't super in tune with college football. But Aaron Hernandez wasn't like a generational type of college player. He was very, very, very good. Now, he won the Mackey Award, as we've seen in this as well. And but he's not. He wasn't like a player that you think of like, oh, he's the best tight end in college football history. Very good, very good. Probably maybe the best in Florida history, but college football history, no. But anywho, you get to the fake drug test, and they get this fake dildo looking thing attached to like some underpants, and they said that'll help the piss test. Now, that didn't really make sense to me because say you're the one taking the piss test and you have the fake penis thing. Say you're clean, okay, you're gonna get clean stuff, but then you have to hand it right over. Say you're dirty, you'd use that, you're gonna have to hand it right over. So I didn't really understand that. I think I'm missing something along these lines. I think I just missed something along those lines because it doesn't matter who has it. If they're doing the drug test correctly, when I took drug tests, there was somebody watching us. We had to piss in the urinal, or oh, they must have filled that with the clean piss, and then okay, that now it's kind of hitting me. They must have filled the the fake the dildo or whatever with the clean piss, and then use that to piss in the cup because you have the stalls and you can't. The tester can't see inside the stalls. They're just watching you piss from like behind. So if you're slick with it, you can make a shake. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Now I never thought about that. There's other ways to get the job done, but I guess they wanted to go that route, which I guess works as well. Makes sense because drug test wasn't the thing he failed. It was some other things he was failing. And yes, he's high at practice. That is not okay. That was so over the top. Nobody gets high and acts like that at practice. I have never seen that for one. And I know people that were high at practice, really high. And they're not going to be overly exerting high, and then it's obvious, and the coach just sees you and then goes about their business. I was like, what in the Nickelodeon Cartoon Network is this? Because dude was spinning around laughing at the trees, and everyone's just looking at him. I'm like, bro, really? Like, did they not use anyone who actually went to played college football or any kind of football at a decently high level to help with this episode? Because that part was just amateur night at the Apollo. I'm sorry. It was just way out there. It wasn't believable to me, and nobody's getting. If that was the case, then he would have got kicked out of practice that day. But nothing happened. Urban Meyer just looked at him like, wonder what's going on. Didn't really make sense. Then we get to Hernandez getting. He was getting it down in the bathroom with some rando, and yeah, he was easing. He was sitting in the bathroom. I'll just keep it at that. You know, he was getting dome in the bathroom by a stranger, and he wasn't being the most careful. Now look, this was a public bathroom. He really doesn't know who this person was, so they could have easily snitched on him. And yes, people, when you're young and in college and you're doing anything, whether that's probably mischievous behavior, whether you want to be doing a sexual activity in public places, shoplifting, committing petty crimes, doing silly college student things that really in the grand scheme of things aren't like highly degradable, you tend to be lackadaisical and you tend to be loose on your precaution towards things and not fully think about the consequences. And that's probably what most likely happened here, which I don't not believe the story. That could have happened. But yes, he definitely probably was being not the most careful and just didn't think about, oh, like, I'm Aaron Hernandez or I'm this person. I won't get caught. Nobody's going to see me. And if they do, I'm going to beat them up or something like that. So definitely, I I think he was being really lackadaisical in that moment, and whew, somebody did see him. But then he get chilling with the girlfriend and whatnot, and the news article comes out, and that's what happens. I'm curious if there's a news article. Now, I couldn't have time to fact check every single thing in this episode. There was a lot, but there was a school paper that said, "Oh, there was a football player in there," but they didn't name a name, and now everyone's seeing it. Now that's crazy. At Mizzou, we didn't have that. We had a school paper, but it wasn't like ratting on people saying, "Oh, these somebody was making out in the bathroom or somebody was doing this or something." That it reported on what people were doing, but crimes and whatnot. And if somebody did it, they would get caught and it would be reported in the paper. It wouldn't just report on assumptions and whatnot. So that was kind of interesting. But if the school paper did that, that's kind of scandalous. So then we get the fight at practice. Aaron Hernandez jumps on the field when he's supposed to be on the sideline and pretty much blind shots the dude, cheap shots the dude. And that didn't really make sense either because he didn't get kicked out of practice for that. The coach just had to break it up and then got a lot on the dude who got blindsided. I'm like, "Coach, I'm out of here. You gonna let somebody blindside me when I'm on the field and they're on the sideline because they hating because I'm playing and they're not?" Craziness. Tebow soon meets up with Hernandez. He talks to him, sees what's going on. He's like, "Oh, let me go to church." Now, if you don't know anything about Tim Tebow at all, long story short, comes from a very religious family. Apparently, he was a pastor in college, which I did not know he was a pastor in college or a youth pastor, whatever. And he's a very religious guy, wears his religion on his sleeve, prays before every single game, pretty much got a lot of notoriety because of that. And he would get on one knee and do the whole thing, wear John 3:16 on his face with the stickers, and that's pretty much what he's known for. He one of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time. Won a playoff game with the Denver Broncos and didn't kind of flame down the NFL pretty quickly because he just wasn't that accurate. He wasn't that good of a quarterback throwing the ball. He was great if you gave him the Florida offense that he had, but NFL is not always going to do that for you, and so he flamed out pretty quickly. But overall, a good dude. He meant well. He was doing the right thing. No smoking, no drinking. I believe he was a virgin till marriage, too. So that was like public knowledge as well. So that kind of dude. And he's bringing Aaron Hernandez to church with him. He says Jesus is the answer. He ain't going to solve your problems, but he'll definitely lead you in the right path, this, that, and the third. And that's commendable. I had a couple teammates like that where they was definitely pointing to the church, which I did go to church in college a lot more, and it is a good escape from the environment that you were susceptible into in college football, in a college football locker room as well. It can be a nice reset on your mental. It can be a nice reality check on what really matters, because when you tend to be in this high induced, high adrenaline, high octane environment such as college football, especially at a D1 school, you can lose yourself in the music a little bit. And kudos on Tebow for helping a brother out. He didn't have to do that, but that just goes to show you what kind of dude Tebow really is. Now, look, I'm not the biggest Tim Tebow fan, but I do respect the dude to the highest degree. I had a chance to meet him once in college myself because he was working for ESPN, and they did a college game day series. We had a college game day at our school when we were playing. I think we were playing Florida. I can't remember which game. South Carolina or Florida. I think it was South Carolina. And yeah, we got to meet him. So just didn't get to talk to him that much, but cool dude. Definitely good vibes. And definitely cares for all the people around him. So, hey, shout out Tebow. I ain't gonna cap. Shout out Tebow. But yes, after this, Hernandez then decides to toss his weed down the bathroom drain. Should have maybe got rid of it another way, but more monetary usage, but that would be illegal. Throws away his weed and focuses in on school and starts praying, and even decides to get some new tattoos of Jesus, of Bible verses and crosses and other things as well. So changed not his whole identity, but kind of changed his outlook on things for the better. It kind of gave this mood of, oh, this is where I change my life around and be good because I'm going to church now, which that is that is a good thing that the church can bring you. You know, it definitely can bring a lot of positive things and get you out of whatever dark place that you could be in, and help you, in lack of better terms, turn over a new leaf. But you have to fully commit. And when Hernandez and keep those people around you, it's helping you follow his word. Not everything in church is, I'd say, is consistent when it comes to the type of people you got to be around. Could be some severely judgmental people in the church as well, in revolt or hypocritical. I'd say not really judgmental, hypocritical and a little bit judgmental. But Hernandez seemed, according to this show, I don't know specifics in real life, was around all good people, and they helped him get rid of his vices that were holding him back from being his true self. That's a little to me that's a little divisive, a little divisive. I think they just helped him clean himself up, which is important. You need to be clean. Don't have yourself rely on weed, alcohol, sex, anything to kind of keep you going in this world. And that part I do highly commend and I do respect. But he is who he is. He is who he is at the end of the day. And hopefully these people that helped him would accept him for everything else. But anywho, we get through that. He's a changed person for the better. And yes, I went through the exaggeration of the concussion. So just randomly, he'd just start hallucinating and whatnot. Things get vision impaired, blurry. And soon as Thanksgiving time, he decides to go home for Thanksgiving. And his mom is with a new man who thinks he's pretty much, in Aaron Hernandez's eyes, trying to take the place of his father, sitting on his chair in the living room, sitting at the front of the table. He's like, I ain't having it, coach. You got to go on somewhere else with that. You don't want to mess with a D1 football player. Thanksgiving, he might flip the table on you. I thought he was about to pull. If y'all ever seen the old viral video of the kid at Thanksgiving flipping the table over at Thanksgiving and his whole family sitting there, and he just ruins Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm like, you always ruin everything. That video is hilarious. Look it up, y'all. It's just type in viral Thanksgiving table flip. It's hilarious. But anywho, yes, it's awkward. He's getting ready to square up with the dad, with the, I guess, stepfather. I don't think they're married. New boyfriend, and it's about to get on and cracking. I was ready to see some bows be thrown, but cooler heads prevailed, and he got his steam off by going to see his old friends at his old high school football field, and they were playing just pickup. And then he reconnects with his old friend from the first episode, the very, very first scene. If you remember this guy, I forget his name, but his old friend. His friend's name is, what is his name? Chris? I think his name's Chris. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Chris. I think it's Chris. Hopefully it's Chris. I think it's Chris. Anywho, he meets up with Chris. And they're talking and whatnot. Chris says, I've been watching your games every Sunday. I've been rooting for you. It's been dope to see. And Aaron Hernandez, he's smoking again. Unfortunately, he's a brat. He also, before that, he was around his dope dealing friends and the friends who's trying to get in fights at the club. Those people. And when you get back around those people, you already know what time it is, and you already know what's gonna happen. So be careful around the people you're with, y'all. Especially the old friends that you had. They will get you back in those bad habits. That's the lesson of this episode. You can be trying to go on a new path and be trying to better yourself, but then go back to the old crowd and they're still doing the same thing. You can't be doing that same thing anymore, especially as a D1 college football player. But whoever you are, be careful and be mindful of people around you, because they will bring you down to the depths of the sea where they're at, rather than high in the sky where you want to be, if you let them. And that's what Hernandez did. He let them in, and then all the stuff he just was practicing went out the window just like that. But anywho, yes, he meets those old friends and he gets to the field and he's talking to his friend Chris, sorry. And Aaron Hernandez is like, look, he started feeling some things again. And he guys to go in, and Chris is like, stop. I'm about to get married. He's like, married? She's like, everything that we was have is over, and it's kind of hitting him like it's over, like that his relationship and the things that they were doing could not happen anymore. And it hit him real hard. You could tell it kind of just zapped him, and then he kind of tried to play it off cool, but really you could tell like it was hurting him inside because he had some things that he wanted to express, but he just couldn't do it for a plethora of reasons. And Chris gets out the car and he's like, I'm out. You keep doing these old things and whatnot. I can't do it no more, which is probably tough on Chris too at the same time. But Chris actually probably could think about it more and cope with these things more just because he's not busy with school and football and all these things. I mean, he's about to get married and he doesn't have as busy of a schedule. I'm pretty sure I don't know if he's still in the Marines or the Army and whatnot, but definitely he could probably figure himself out a lot quicker than Hernandez because of the less distractions that he had. So yes, running with his old friends, started drinking, smoking again, not good, and then having to, you know, be enticed by his old fling as well. It was very bad of him going home. He even said himself, there's a reason I don't come home that often because of just these things going on. And I don't blame him too. It's a nice thing actually to stay away from that, and that's what college football can do, or sports in general can do, is keep you away from these negative things and whatnot for the most part. But if you divulge back into that once it's gone, which a lot of people do once they're done playing whatever skill that is, then it can really deter them on the wrong road when they were doing things so right. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. So yes, then we get back to church, and Tebow gives a pep talk to Hernandez, and soon we find that they play in the SEC championship game against Alabama, and they lose that game. The football film and the football scene in the SEC championship game was piss poor. I'm gonna be quite frank and quite blunt. It was pathetic. It didn't even look like a real football game at all. I mean, Aaron Hernandez didn't even try to go for the catch. He kind of just sat there, and the dude just caught it right in front of him. Like, bruh, like that's not believable. Y'all might as well have used the old game footage tape like y'all have been using at the beginning of the episode. So, yes, that happens, and then we get so focused on Urban Meyer. He has seemingly a heart attack, but chest problems and pains right after the game, which this really happened. I didn't know this happened. I had no clue. And they'd be rushed to the hospital, and he's been having this for a while, and he's talking with his wife and saying, look, I don't think I'm quitting as a coach, but definitely I need a clean house and get rid of everybody, which it's not his story. It's not his story, but definitely was weird because it's like, what does your team have to do with your chest problems? You make it seem like the people on your team is making you have these problems. It didn't really make sense to me, but anywho, with that being said, he basically kicked Hernandez off the team by telling him he needs to go to the NFL. He said Hernandez was insinuating that he wants to come back for another season. He's like, yeah, I think it'd be good. And then coach was like, yeah, you might want to go to the NFL because if you try and come back to college, you won't have a spot, even though you're the best tight end in the country. That don't make no sense. Didn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't think that was the conversation that was told. It's hard to imagine that conversation being told. And I can see him saying, hey, go to the NFL. You want to make your money, go do that. But if he wants to come back to school and you're telling him that he wouldn't have a spot if he came back, that just doesn't really make sense considering he was having these problems. And he wouldn't be Florida's football coach for that much longer. Spoiler alert. But anywho, we getting off track. That just didn't make sense to me. But yes, we see him win the Mackey Award. And he actually got to meet John Mackey, who sadly passed away in 2011. One of the best tight ends in college football history. But he was in a wheelchair and he had dementia too. So Mackey had a bunch of problems. And what they didn't kind of emphasize they did subtly, is Mackey did have a lot of concussions himself. Mackey, he played in like the 60s, 60s or 70s, I believe. Tons of concussions, tons of health problems. Back then, they didn't really pay attention to that stuff at all, and it low key insinuated, if you know about John Mackey, insinuated that Hernandez could have these same issues moving forward. And it was kind of scary to see, you know? He looked like he didn't even know where he was at. Mackey, in that sense. And Mackey's the dude that was in the wheelchair, if you don't know. Urban Meyer said that that at the end of the speech, or no, when Hernandez got his trophy, his award, the John Mackey Award, Meyer said, well, he'll either end up in the Hall of Fame or prison. Wow. I hope Urban Meyer checked these people after this, because they making him look shady as hell in this show. I ain't gonna lie. They making him look shady. But yes, that was episode 3. Episode 1 and 2, that's what captured me. Episode 3 was okay. I'd give this episode about a 6.5. It was all right. It kind of kept getting a little sidetracked with other side stories, like with the Tebow. Like, it focused on Tebow for a while, then it focused on Urban Meyer, and just the over exaggeration of the concussions, as well as the football scenes that just were fake. Like, there were a few that were good. There were a few that were really good, and I think this show needs to focus more on the still moments rather than hit the big pizzazz shots, because those still moments are the ones that hit more. Like the one scene in the car, that really hit. Like, you could feel that. The scene at Thanksgiving, you could feel that. So I think those are the ones that's hitting in the show. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week. I believe that's when he gets to the combine, which should be very interesting. And yeah, that was it for episode 3, y'all. I appreciate you for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you thought about this episode. It was all right to me. It was all right. But till next time, y'all, we out here. Peace, blessings, and deuces. And as always, have a great rest of your day.